Rock superstars speak out against drugs. Next, Donahue.
Monday morning at 10.
Hunter will be seen next Saturday at its regular time. Now stay tuned for an NBC special, Jack Parr Comes Home.
May I ask you, so that I don't look too naive, a tough question right off the bat?
And whether I'm a Democrat or Republican?
No, baby. Hey, would it be rude of me if I called you John?
That would be fine.
Because if you make it, it would be nice for my daughter to know that. We have a small arrangement, you know. Well, we got the best voice we've had in here in a long time, Barry.
This is the best show you've had in a long time up here.
Are you criticized for coming on the show by the more devout? Say, what are you doing?
There are a few people that criticize me, but I always tell them that Christ went among the publicans and sinners, and I can come with Jack Parr.
How's the suit coming with Mr. Hoffa? He and I are being sued for $250,000. I hope you have your half, incidentally. I may have trouble coming up with mine, but you have yours.
I think it's much more than that.
Much more than a quarter? Much more than $250,000?
I think it's 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, and
So you have to come up with 2.5 then.
Aren't you worried about it?
No, are you?
Well, you have all the evidence. I mean, you don't share the evidence. You just share the suit. That's all you do.
I would bow, but I would fall down.
You gotta be all right. Listen, you gotta be swell. We just keep moving around. What do you do for exercise?
I stumble, and then I fall into a coma.
Now, I have been doomed all my life to the small chuckle, if I'm lucky. I wish I was the type of comedian who could do the broad, the big, the funny thing. But I have all my life been somewhat introverted, and I'm rather shy off camera. But I cannot do the wild, crazy thing, and I wish I could. I'd love to get big laughs like Buddy Hackett. But I don't know, I just never could. I want to tell you, though, tonight that this is really one of the most...
From NBC in New York, Jack Parr Comes Home. And now, here's Jack.
Well, you know how sentimental I am, and you really shouldn't do that. If I told you the truth, well, you must believe every word I say. Otherwise, I have very little talent. This is the script tonight. And the reason I'm not going to do what I planned to do was the irony of all this is so damn funny. Jack Parr Comes Home, a standing ovation. At 10:30 this morning, I kid you not, they would not let me in the elevator. I came with my coat and these clothes, and the girl, little black girl, said, "You can't go up." I said, "I'm Jack Parr. You've never heard of Jack Parr?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, don't you have a list that shows what's going to be on the air tonight, and it'll say Jack Parr?" She said, "I don't have it." "You mean to tell me I cannot go in that elevator?" She said, "No." I said, "You realize that I probably paid for those elevators in my day?" Before me, they used to use ropes to go up and down here. Well, the poor thing was only following instructions. So somebody came by and got up. Now, everything I tell you is true. So Miriam and I went out, walking around because I'm scared, And we're in front of radio, in front of your, you know, where the fountain is, the skating rink. And there's a bunch of tourists there, and they've got cameras, and they're going like this. They want to photograph. And one lady behind me, she said something about, this is the temple of television, where all the stars are. She's going like this. And then she asked me to move. She said, would you move? I mean, a member of this crew, a young man, told me he called his girl and said to her that he wouldn't have the date tonight because he had to tape a show with Jack Parr. She said, is that P-A-A-R? He said, yes. She said, he's famous. He said, have you ever seen him? She said, no, I'm only 22. I never saw him. Wait, well, then how can he be famous? And the kid said, he's in all the crossword puzzles. I gave my name. I mean, I'm not on television anymore, and my name is no longer in headlines like it used to be. I feel like George Bush in a way, you know. but I gave my name a credit card at a hardware store, and a lady said to me, you're Jack Parr? And I said, yes, I'm Jack Parr. And she said, when are you coming back? God, I loved you. And I said, oh, I'm never coming back. I have no plans. And she said, dear God, to think I'll never hear you sing again. The only problems I have, really, are short-term memory. As you get older, short-term memory. And I had a physical last year, and I said to the doctor, the only thing, I really feel wonderful, and I'm in very good shape, except I don't know where I am a lot of the time. I was in Westport the other day, and I said, I live in Greenwich. What the hell am I doing in Westport? Well, so I asked the doctor, I said, now what can you give me for short-term memory? I swear to you this is true. And he said, well, never mind the exam. And I did the coughing bit. You fellas know the coughing and all that. Chandelier bit and all that stuff. So finally, I said, look, I heard the health store say that they have miracle drugs now and lecithin or something. And would that be good for me for the short-term memory? He said, never mind. He took a prescription pad and he wrote on it. And I put it in my pocket. And I was so happy to think that there is something that would help me. And I went to the drugstore and I gave it to the druggist, and I swear to you what it said, for short-term memory, make notes. Now, may I talk to you senior citizens, please? The big thing that I have found about short-term memory is that I read this marvelous thing by a sexologist, which interested me and which I pass on to you. It's good news. Of all the human faculties that we have, hearing, all those faculties, the last to leave us is your sexual desire and the ability to make love. That is quite true what I have just said, and which is good news for yapping people everywhere, you know, who are concerned about that, because that means that long after we're wearing bifocals or hearing aids, we'll be making love, but we won't know with whom. So make notes. I assume I'll be back in a moment.
There's only one way to appreciate Zenith's 27-inch stereo television with breathtaking sound by Bose. Go hear it. Zenith and Bose. Quality.
Need help?
Yeah, and I've got 10 minutes to get to the radio station.
Ah, here's the problem.
Stetson cologne. Easy to wear, hard to resist.
And for that great smelling guy who started my car, I get off at 6.
Oh, it's beautiful. Did Daddy see it? Mr. Macho cried.
Hey, I always cry when I'm hungry.
What
goes straight with happiness. Something sitting on a Ritz. Everything will taste better. Tastes better when it's sitting on a Ritz.
Ritz makes food taste great.
When it's sitting on a Ritz.
Try low salt Ritz too. Great Ritz taste with less salt.
Nabisco.
It is a popular legend, and it is wrong, that Ed Sullivan was the first to bring the Beatles to this country. It is a part of the legend that he was on the Sullivan Show first. The first time the Beatles were ever seen was on the Sullivan Show. The press says that. Your game of trivia says that. It's not true. The Beatles on by film. I had seen them in London and had them filmed. Now, I'll admit to you, I never knew that these boys would change the history of the world's music, which they did. I thought it was funny. And I had them filmed and brought it to America months before Sullivan. And now I want to show you, and the reason we're going to show just a little bit of it is that there's something I say after their little act which proves it. Would you show the Beatles, please?
I just show you this in case you're going to England and want to have a fun evening. Now here are the Beatles. It's nice to know that England has finally risen to our cultural level. Ed Sullivan's going to have the Beatles on live in February, and our interest was just showing a more adult audience that usually follows my work.
Whenever I saw the Beatles, as they became the greatest musical act in the history of show business, I always felt sad because it's my own feeling that when they split up the money, didn't get a full share. Don't you have a feeling that Ringo did not get a full quarter of the thing? Okay, here's a good story. Now, here's a good story, but you're gonna outguess me on this one. But at its time, 18, 20 years ago, it had enormous impact. But you'll outguess it, not because you're so smart, although I know you are, but it's going to become more obvious than it was. A young kid wanted to get on on television with me, and she was 16 years old, and I said, okay. She was quite good, and we set a date, and then all of a sudden, her mother told me she couldn't go on under her right name. So we had to change the name to some crazy name. It was something like Duji Langar, which sounded Armenian or gypsy-like. And so I have to introduce this youngster under this phony name. I get a phone call the night before. She fell and broke her leg. So I said, well, tell the child that I'll put her on, but we can't put her on with a broken leg. Okay. Call comes back, and it says, she's crying. And you not only got a broken leg and a broken heart, she wants to go on. This is her big chance. Okay, how am I going to handle it? Armenian with a broken leg called Duji Langar. Well, they got a wheelchair, and they're backstage. They're wheeling her out, and I hear a scream, and I said, what is going on? What's wrong? And they said, we're trying to lift her off of the wheelchair onto the ladies, onto the potty, and the door slammed, and now she has her arm. So this kid was brought out in a wheelchair with a broken leg, Duji Langar, with a thing. Now, who do you think it was? Look.
The way you wear your hat, the way you sit your shoes, the memory of all that. No, no, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just feels. my dreams. No, no, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love. But I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we dance till 3, the way you changed my life. No, no, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away. Just the way you look
Every word I told you is true, except she's not Armenian, and she's not a gypsy, and her name isn't Bijou Langar. It's Judy Garland's daughter. But every other word I said was true. And her mother said, if you want to put her on, you've got to put her on without saying who she is and let her sing, as scared as she is, if that's what she wants, but don't tell him who she is. And it is true about your hands, and it is true about you. She broke her foot last night. What's going to happen to that show you were going to go into?
I don't know, really. All I know is that I'm in best foot forward, and I put my best foot forward, and I broke it.
Oh.
So...
Well, I can get you on Gunsmoke. You can dance with Chester. I'm sure it'll work out.